Hi, everyone. I'm Darren Coleman, Senior Vice President and Portfolio Manager with Raymond James in Toronto. And we thought we'd take advantage of everyone working remotely and using these systems and things to interview some people that are folks that we know that are, I believe, are thought leaders that can give us some guidance and some wisdom about how to handle this situation that's absolutely unprecedented for everyone. So today I'm delighted to be joined as my first guest, actually, because I feel like I'm hosting my own morning show, is Susan Hyatt, who's the founder of Silver Sherpa. Now, Susan, you and I have known each other for a few years, and the work that you guys do is remarkable. So your background is, because we just define you guys as doing healthcare advocacy, which is really the short version of a lot of things that you do. You've got a background in trauma care. You've been a professor at U of T, you've taught there, you've attended MIT, you've attended Harvard, you intimidate the hell out of me with all these credentials. And your company, Silver Sherpa, which is based in Oakville, Ontario, you guys help families and seniors prepare for and respond to lifestyle crisis. And this is often from a healthcare issue, a challenge, maybe it's a loss of a partner, or it just could be social isolation. And one of the things that we found you guys to be so helpful with is helping our clients navigate the silos that are really the healthcare systems in Canada. As much as we have a great system, it really is very difficult for the average person to begin to navigate through. And I thought with your experience in helping families deal with healthcare crises and social isolation, I think you would have some really interesting insight and experience to help people as they're quarantined at home, they're worried about family, they're not sure what to do with the healthcare system. So I thought if we spent 15 minutes or so today kind of learning from your expertise, I think that's a huge benefit to our clients and our friends.
Okay, thank you, Darren, and I'm honored to be the first guest. That's a big thank you from Silver Sherpa and our teams. We've enjoyed working with you and your team, and we'll continue to do that. A couple of things about the healthcare system. If we just talk about the healthcare system, what we're seeing right now is the stress in the acute care system, the acute healthcare. People are seeing pictures every night on the news or all day about doctors in stress, looking for masks, gearing up with all this personal protective equipment, etc.
Right.
So it's scary. So the first thing is maybe don't watch the news nonstop, because most people that don't understand what's that system, it's not a television show anymore. It's reality for us, and it's scary. So try and limit the amount of news that you do watch. What we're suggesting to some of our clients is maybe they just watch in the morning for half an hour and in the evening for half an hour, and the rest of the time chill. Don't watch news for your own mental health. But the important thing to think about, these are unprecedented times, and we all need to stop and pause and think about this. Our parents went through this during war times, and now we're being called on to figure it out. And we've never seen anything like this before.
Right.
So the first thing is that our healthcare system, the acute care system now, is under stress. But the reality is there are 3.3 million caregivers in Ontario alone that are providing care in the home. So they're providing care to parents, to special needs kids, to kids with like autism or someone with other challenges. And they're providing, those 3.3 million caregivers are providing about 3/4 of the care that actually goes on every day in the province.
Okay, that's the thing that people don't normally see. We just see the news at hospitals, but most of the care is happening by individuals to their own family at home, right?
Exactly. So right now we're saying, and we could probably do 3 of these interviews, Darren. So let's break it down and see what would be most helpful. So let's say that you live in Toronto and your parents are living in Sudbury, and you're in a bit of a panic. So what do you do?
Right.
So we're crisis managers. So the first thing you need to do is you need a plan, and you need to sit down, write out your plan for your elderly parents or for your special needs, your sister who's got a special needs kid and needs help. Okay, so the first thing is write down a plan. Get a pen and a paper and sit down and start thinking it through. The second thing is think about the circle of care, what we call the circle of care. So it's a term that's used by all sorts of people, but what we're talking about is who are those people that you depend on in a 24-hour period to help that senior in Sudbury.
Okay.
So is it the PSW who comes in to help your dad get a shower in the morning? Is it the neighbor who drops by with a hot meal at lunch? Is it the person from the church who comes in and checks on him in the afternoon? Write down every single person that's in that circle of care.
Or could be theoretically in that circle, right? We may have to get creative here.
We have to get creative. The second thing is draw a line down the page, and if any one of those people becomes ill or has to quarantine, who's next up? So it's like a team, right? And you've got the team that's the starter team.
Yes, and then who's on the bench, right?
And who's on the bench, because we're looking at data now that's saying, and if you listen to the Public Health Agency of Canada, Dr. Tam, she's saying that somewhere between 40 and 80% of Canadians will contract this virus. That's their current data.
Wow. So
we have to, worst case scenario, they're saying 80%, best case scenario, 40%. That's close to half of us, right? So you've got to have a bench team. You've got to have bench strength. So that's the first thing. Expand your circle of care. The second thing, if mom and dad are in Sudbury and you're worried about them, secure food procurement and delivery. You got to have food. Right. Things are crazy. We know we fought the toilet paper wars already.
I don't know if everyone won them, but we'll find out shortly.
And I know in your neighborhood, a guy got arrested for fighting over toilet paper in the grocery store, because I was in your neighborhood a couple.
You should have filmed it. I wish you'd filmed it.
I was thinking about it, but I wanted to be a good citizen and not cause more trouble. So,
well, we can all use some entertainment, right? There's only so much Netflix.
Exactly. And I've got a good cartoon to send you about a toilet paper fort, how to self-isolate in a toilet paper fort. But think about it. So the second thing is secure food delivery, procurement and delivery for mom and dad. Okay. So how do you do that? Which grocery store do they shop at? Do they deliver? Could somebody, they've got seniors hours and vulnerable persons hours now, could somebody go and shop for them? Are they capable of making a list? Do they know what? So we're getting back to basics here, like my grandma taught us on the farm, right? Like I'm a farm girl, and you had to plan your menus out every week.
Well, it's funny, and these are the basic things that people often will skip over, but these are like Dr. Coughlin at the Age Lab, one of the things he talks about to see how ready are people in retirement, the first question he says, who's going to change your light bulbs? And that's a metaphor for how are you going to handle the basic day-to-day tasks and maintenance of life? Because these are things like when you're 35, you don't think about it, but when you're 86, getting on a ladder is probably not the best thing to be doing. So we kind of have to go back to these basics about food. I imagine the next thing is going to be medicines would probably be the next issue, right?
Secure your medicine lines, because a lot of seniors are on multiple medications. So we're recommending that they call their pharmacist and they get a 1-month supply. We were asking for a 3-month supply, but the pharmacists are tending to cut back now to 1 month. So why is that important? Well, number one, if we're in quarantine, we still need our medicines, and mom and dad still need their medicine. Number two, remember, if you run out, you've got to call a doctor to get the repeats, right? Check the repeats, because your family doctor may not be there. They may be in the acute care hospital doing COVID-19 assessments.
Right.
So don't assume that this is all going to work like it used to. Talk to your pharmacist. They are your best friend. If you need Medicaid, you should have at least a month's medication secured. And this is a good time to talk about consolidating medications all in one pharmacy with one pharmacist. Why? Because if you've got prescriptions in multiple pharmacies, nobody's looking at the big drug picture. So if mom's on drugs from a cardiologist and she buys it at Shoppers, but then she has drugs from a nephrologist and she buys them somewhere else.
Yeah, she goes to Rexall across the street.
Exactly. There's not one pharmacist looking at the whole picture. And pharmacists are trained to look at drug interactions.
I see.
So they're our best friends with seniors because we can do online consults with them, right? Or we can do a telephone consult with them and say, oops, mom's on these drugs, but we think they're interacting. Is that true? And they'll help sort that out.
So another thing that pops to mind when we talk about consolidating is something that we've seen sometimes in families in crisis is that there's not one person that's often the point person for decisions or connections, and there's too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes. So is something that you guys help manage people through in terms of coordinating families?
Absolutely. So think of our client directors as the primary coordinator. There's one client director assigned to the family, and they coordinate all the disparate pieces of what's going on. So that's what we do with our clients. So we're just in the middle of doing a pandemic plan for each of our clients right now. So they've got their normal things that we're dealing with, right? Like they've got a doctor's appointment coming up. We had a lady who had an emergency ophthalmology appointment. We had to get her to on Monday because the pressure in one of her eyes went sky high and we needed an ophthalmologist. So we'll find those people and help people through that. We have layers and layers of connections and advisors like yourself, who we will call and say, hey, by the way, Darren, we've got a problem here. This person doesn't have a wealth manager. Their partner's just passed away. Can you help us out? So we do that right across the board. So it's really important to have the plan and have one primary person that's doing all of this. Now, whether it's us or whether it's a family member, that's up to the family. But we're in the process right now of doing these pandemic plans for each of our families. So the next thing, getting back to our list of things, but we want to expand the circle of care. We want to secure the food procurement and food deliveries. We want to secure the medication. The next thing that we have to secure that people forget about are the household supplies you need.
Okay.
So let me give you an example. Dad's in Sudbury. Dad has an indwelling catheter. Every week he goes out to a nursing station to get the catheter changed. Well, they've shut down because of quarantine. Somebody's been diagnosed with COVID-19. So they might say, well, we're going to send someone to your home, but we want you to have the supplies on hand.
I see.
So
that they have to figure out.
Now you've got to figure out, okay, what do we need? Well, they want gloves. They want incontinence supplies. They want, they'll tell you. Now, in some cases, they may be able to bring it. In other cases, they'll ask you to get it. So that becomes an issue. If mom wears incontinence products, sourcing those products may be a problem. So these are all things you've got to think about. And then the next thing on your list should be a communication plan with the family.
Right.
Because, if there are 4 kids and they're all calling mom at the same time,
it's too much.
It's too much. It's overwhelming. So who do you have to communicate with? Again, write it down. Who's going to be the primary family communicator? Now, we have some families that use Slack. Which
our team is starting to use that.
You guys started using. Yeah, wonderful app that you can use. Other people use WhatsApp. my own family. We've got one of my daughters is a doctor in Philadelphia, and at the Children's Hospital there, we use WhatsApp to keep in touch with her husband, and my daughter and her husband in Toronto, because we're all trying to, plank the curve and stay home. And we've got a doctor on the front line, so we're all sort of a bit uneasy about that. But we use WhatsApp every day. Slack is another good way to communicate with families. So we help them set those communication tools up, and then help them, give them guidelines on how to use this. If there's one person in the family who tends to be a bit over the top, they're probably not the primary communicator.
Okay.
Pick the person
that takes me right out of it for my family, probably. But
well, we have some clients who, they're probably not the people you want to put on television, right? The odd sister or brother. You pick the one who's the calmest and a good communicator, clear, doesn't send, crazy texts. Pick the communication plan. Let's talk about social isolation.
That's an important one, I think. And for many people that may not be in a health, like an urgent health situation, that is going to become an issue for many people, is just being alone, right? Or having a very small world all of a sudden.
Yes, and think about a single mom who's at home with an autistic child. I have a special needs niece who lives in Vancouver. And let me tell you, the stress in that household has gone up dramatically.
Right.
Because all activities have been canceled. All school's been canceled.
Yeah.
My niece has nowhere to go for normal activities. Everything's at home.
Even the playgrounds are shut now in Toronto.
Exactly. So what are some, we've got to go back to basics on this stuff, Darren. So what do? Okay, we've got technology, which our grandparents never had during the war, right? So think about it. What can we do? Well, what we've done with our niece and what we're doing with some of our special needs kids is we're setting up a theme a week, okay, and buddying them up with a kid in their family or a high school student or someone who wants to help. So pick a theme. So this week, let's pick sea creatures. Great theme, right? Kids love it, seniors love it, and it's going to be the teaching theme for the week. So get some moms involved, and you're going to teach your kids, because you're homeschooling, right? So teach your kids about sea creatures. Well, the grandparents are they're isolated, they can't go out. Get the grandparents involved. Set up a 1-hour FaceTime where the seniors can be involved with the kids, and everybody has a project. Right. And then say, okay, well, where are the online resources that we can go? Well, one of the things we've done and suggested with one of our clients is they're doing an online aquarium tour with the one of the aquariums in California.
Oh, so they've got their webcam set up so they can tour that way. That's interesting.
Exactly. Another idea, museums of the week. All the major museums in the world have now put tours online. So next week, our suggestion with our niece is we're going to the Louvre in Paris. So she's now researching all the paintings that are in the Louvre. So we've got to be creative about this social isolation. It's not.
My mother's created an interesting game for our family. So she's up at the cottage. She's she's isolated up there, which is fine. But she's decided we're all going to play Balderdash by text. So every day she sends out a word, and we have to, one at a time, email her back what we think the definition of the word is. And you can either guess it if you think you know it, or you need to create a definition that someone else may pick. So if they pick your definition, you get a point. Currently, I'm in last place, so I think other people are cheating. I think my daughter and my son are cheating. I think they're Googling it, because I shouldn't be losing with that.
I'm going to give you a word, my favorite word in the whole world, because I love words. Lugubrious.
Lugubrious.
Yes.
That
So
sounds
next
like
time
after
we meet,
5 vodkas, I'd be lugubrious.
lugubrious.
Or just
So next time we
just
meet,
lubricated. I'm not sure.
but you try you try lugubrious. Your mother will be very impressed.
Lugubrious. Okay. Well, the word we
Okay.
use a lot for complicated situations, which comes from a friend of mine in Newfoundland, is tangly. These are
Ooh,
very good word, right? So these are very
okay.
tangly times for people.
They
One
are.
Very tangly. So actually, one thing I wanted to pivot to a little bit, because we are hopefully going to all get through this,
Yeah.
and I think the advice you've given to create that circle of care is absolutely vital. There's other services that you guys do, and I just wanted to kind of make sure clients understood a little bit about the level and the quality that you guys do. And you were just sharing with me before we started the video, the fact that like the courts actually ask Silver Sherpa, your firm, to come in and assist in difficult situations. So maybe you can just touch on the work that you do to really help families in crisis, and how, and I'm going to put links to your website and other things on the bottom of the video. So if people do really have a situation they want to connect with you, they'll be able to. But I think the work you're doing with the courts is actually a really interesting new capability that you have.
It is, Darren, and it's emerged and grown over the last couple of years. So what happens is that families, often over the care of an elderly parent, get into disputes. Sometimes it's dispute over care,
No one would
sometimes
argue, would they?
dispute over money. Often money is I think it was my grandmother who said money is the root of all evil. She kept repeating that over and over, which is another famous person said it. But it is, right?
Yeah.
Money, this is where people start fighting. And these days, times are different. And in these days, we find that people fight even before someone passes away.
Yeah.
So we see the estates court, their work is increasing dramatically. And we do a lot of work with litigation lawyers and the estates court. Sometimes the court asks us to come in and assess a situation because one sibling is saying one thing, another sibling is saying a completely different thing. The lawyers have taken sides. They've had people come in, there's affidavits, they've spent tons of money, and the judge can't figure out what's going on. So they ask us to come in as an independent third party. We are independent, we don't take sides, we tell the truth, and we deliver the goods. This is what we found, this is what we believe. We review all the documentation, we talk to the doctors, we talk to the lawyers, we talk to the fighting individuals, and most importantly, we talk to the person who requires care, and then we report back to the court in a formal document, which is an assessment, and they ask us to make recommendations. And more what we found is that the justices, the Superior Court justices, are saying, we like the report and we want to embed you in the solution. So we're going to order that you be the independent third party facilitator to work with the family, with the senior until death. And they put us in the middle. We establish communication protocols with everyone. We establish care protocols. We do exactly the same thing we've talked about. You know, you get a plan, you secure this, you secure that, but it's on a case-by-case basis, and it's under court order. So it's a little bit different. People, you know, if they're fighting in the court, they sometimes can't see their way clear to cooperating, to look after mom or to look after dad. So that's another surface. Why do they come to us? What are the skill sets? We're independent, we're objective, we don't take sides. Our primary job is to look after the senior and to make sure they're cared for with the best quality of life, or the special needs person, bottom line. So we start there and then we work out from there. And so the courts, you know, we have a carrot and we have a stick. The carrot is if we all cooperate and work together, yes, this is difficult, but we'll find a way through it.
Well, you know, it's interesting. When I did my trust officer training back in the early 90s, one of the first things they taught us was strange things happen when money's on the table. And that's been so true in my whole career. But I wanted to share that with people just so they understand the level of respect that I think institutions have for the work that you do, and the quality that you guys provide. And I can say from the feedback we've had from clients that have engaged with you and your team, it's been not only exceptional, but it has been remarkable for you guys to bring support that they didn't even know that they could get to help them through very difficult times. So, and we're all in difficult times now.
Now, exactly, we're in
all
it
of
now,
us.
right?
Yeah,
So
we're all
now
sharing this.
I'll leave you with one thought. A colleague of mine from New Jersey sent me what her mom said this morning, and her mom's an Italian mama, and she's very outspoken. She's from New Jersey, and she said, "Stop, think, be a good neighbor, and help one another."
Oh, that's
So,
nice.
I mean,
That's good.
that's what it's all about, right?
It is. I've also been sharing with people the whole social distancing thing. So it's basically 1 meter or 3 feet, or in Canadian, it's one good hockey stick. It's a poke check. That's how far away you got to stay from everybody. That's the Canadian way.
Uh, it's actually 2 meters.
Yeah, but if you take the
So
stick and you poke somebody, that's 6 feet, right? So it's a
you
poke check.
got that. Or the other one, I say to people, if some of our seniors have difficulty figuring it out, I say, put your arms out on
Yeah,
both sides and don't get any closer than that
right.
from arm to arm.
I love you, so stay over there.
Yeah. So put your arm out. So 2 arm lengths.
2 arm lengths. Got it. So we'll all stay
Got
safe. Wash your hands. Thank you for your time today, Susan. I do appreciate it. I suspect that as this continues on, we may have another conversation as we all take in new information, and because this is a marathon we're in, isn't it?
It is a marathon. We're looking at months here. We're not looking at weeks.
Right.
This is not just a sprint for a couple of weeks. We need to think about this for a series of months. And maybe the next time we can talk about how do you cope with a senior who's actually in a retirement home or a long-term care home and you're not allowed to visit. That's one of the ones that really worries us.
Sounds like that'll set us up for episode 2.
Okay. You stay well and be safe.
Thank you, Susan. I do appreciate your time today. Be well, and we do appreciate the work that you and your team do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darren. Take care.